Welcome to the EnLight Life Podcast with Alexandra Cousins. Together we'll demystify disease and the debates around health, empowering you toward real regeneration and a life of vibrant vitality.
So, welcome everybody to the EnLight Life Podcast. It's husband and wife, Gary and Alex.
We are here to reintroduce ourselves. I thought this time I will be roping in my husband from the get-go.
The husband of 19 years.
Yes.
It's been an interesting journey.
It's been a long and beautiful journey, and of course, many of you know me, know us as still living mucus-free, as raw veganism, as detoxing, as fasting, and all of that. And because so much has evolved, it's not even changed, it's evolved over the course of the last 5 years. We really felt we weren't fully ready to share everything, even though, of course, we've been continuing to work with clients to help people along their regenerative journey. Now it felt the right time to just reintroduce ourselves and share our story.
Tell our story. And in many ways, the story started with Alex. And before we tell a story, who am I? I'm Gary Cousins. I am originally from South Africa, and I love technology. I'm very interested in yoga, particularly Kundalini yoga. My background is an engineer. I'm a great believer. You can call me what's known as a Bitcoin maximalist, i.e. Bitcoin is the future. It's never too late. It's still not too late to buy Bitcoin. And I'm really excited about that we can, one, transform ourselves. We can change ourselves, we can regenerate, and ultimately that's how we're going to change the world. And it's been a journey of many years, but I would say our journey really started when, you've been interested in health kind of forever, but when we first met, we weren't vegan. I was vegetarian for many years, even before I met Alex, but I didn't really have any concept of health. And we kind of went to the gym, and I hated the gym. I love the gym now.
In other words, we really were, normies. Like what oftentimes the term is used, those normies, whatever. Yeah, that was us. Really. And the only reason that I became interested in health was because I wasn't feeling well. Ever since I was a teenager, I started having health issues and weight issues, and it was a bother. And so I tried so many things, along the way. And ultimately, what needs to be said is that, neither Gary nor I, we're not your typical influencers who with great genetics, right? Like we really are.
We have pretty average, normal
we're super
genetics.
People. And having done our DNA testing, because it is and has become a big part of what we do, or an integrous part.
But that's down the line of the story.
Yes.
So let's get back to the beginning.
Yes, but what I wanted to point out here is that, once we saw our genetics, we're like, oh yeah, no wonder we're struggling so much.
Right.
That was the point of this part of the story.
But I think back to the beginning, it's kind of like we're looking at 2013, you really got sick, you got unwell.
Yeah, it was as all stories, right? It was a lead up many, many years, especially post pregnancies and so forth. As for so many women, my health started declining, eventually ended up being bedridden. And that is where at the age of 39, 40, and that is where I realized, okay, now I've had it. I need to sort this out because things are not going to, I knew things weren't going to get better. They're only going to get worse. And so I thought, and I also very clearly, to be honest, had the message from, call it spirit, God, the divine, all that is, it doesn't even matter. The message was sort yourself out and pass on the message, which in some ways was my calling and desire to be that person ever since I can remember. Okay, so that was there. And long story short, because we want to kind of, get to where are we now, but long story short, I went deep, like radical deep into veganism, raw food, juicing, fasting, all of that, and dove right in. And I very quickly found incredible vitality, so many benefits. And it's not like
you dragged me along.
yeah, then I went along.
I will remember always the very first detox that we did. I was terrified. I was completely like, oh my goodness, what's going to happen to me? It was going to be 10 days of, I can't remember what we did. We were going to just eat some fruit in the morning and fast for the rest of the day and drink some juices. And I was terrified.
Well, so they're also, ultimately, I mean, Gary, who was still working in corporate for several years before we then, really kind of started our business together and so forth. But point is, we had incredible benefits, like mind-blowing benefits. And, we visibly rejuvenated, we felt incredible, all of the things. And, this story is definitely not going to end the way that so many of these stories end with, oh, and then we found the light and we realized that, raw veganism is all BS and it's all terrible. It's actually of the devil. No, that's not how the story goes.
Yeah, and it's not one of like, oh, wow, we discovered carnivore and now that is the religion and that is the only way.
No, I would say that our story is one of, in my humble opinion, of very healthy evolution and learning from our bodies, from the bodies of our clients, me diving back into science, into Russian health models, into genomics, into understanding epigenetics, and why. Why did I then, why did we turn a corner? Well, because at some point...
Well, let's go back. We started coming online with living mucus-free. Yeah. And that was the way we lived for many years. And let's explain what living mucus-free is.
So mucus-free essentially was high raw vegan diet, a little bit of cooked foods here and there, a lot of fasting, a lot of fruit.
A lot of fasting. This one did 53 days once. I eventually had to pull her down from the heavens and say, come back to earth, honey.
Yeah, so we did a lot of that. And it was all helpful. Now, have we learned subsequently what not to do, how to do things better? Yes. Did we damage ourselves? I mean, damage is a big word. Could we have done things better? For sure. But we learned a lot of lessons. And, and this is another thing. If you are someone who is going to take your health into your own hands, as we did, and, really become someone who's going to learn from their embodied experience, you are going to make mistakes. Like, there's no one out there, I don't care who you are, there's no doctor, there's no one out there that has done a deep journey, a deep dive with their own body that wouldn't look back at some point and gone, you know what, certain things I would have done differently. It's part of life, right? Which is why I am so anti those people that have gotten benefits from any kind of diet, right? I used to live Ayurvedically for many years until that became not applicable anymore. So no matter what lifestyle you may have benefited from, don't go and badmouth it, because that is what got you to a certain point. And ultimately, the wisdom that we have come to is that there are benefits actually to every single diet, every single lifestyle. The wisdom comes from then being able to understand what to keep, how to keep it, and how to balance it according to our genetics, epigenetics, and also to our desired outcome.
I mean, but the important thing is that fasting's really changed our lives, and it has its place and it has its benefit. Even now, we still advocate
Still
fasting
on a regular basis, on a weekly basis, on a monthly basis, shorter, longer, deep dives. We still do raw foods intermittently. We still do fruit fasting intermittently. So all of the elements we've taken with, but we've evolved it. And I really would say there is no one that is teaching what we're teaching. Why? Because most people teach things compartmentalized. And at some point, in fact, ironically, because there is a lot of irony to the story, let me tell you. So it was really funny. We left South Africa 5 years ago.
and we arrived to live in Bali literally 3 weeks before COVID hit.
But never mind COVID. We left, and me especially, like ready to now be superwoman, ready to fly, because I felt like, wow, I've done such deep regenerative work, felt amazing. I felt in some ways almost like the peak of my health. And so I was like, great, I'm going to go.
And it was really like, this is the way.
Yeah,
like,
and it did.
Living mucus-free was the way.
Yes, it really did feel like we figured it out. This is the way. We're going to evangelize and so forth. And
well, we came to Bali to build a retreat center so that we could invite people from all around the world to come to beautiful Bali, do the detoxing, experience what it is to really, shift and release and heal. Well, COVID came and those plans got pushed to the side.
Yes. But then came more. And it's so often only, of course, in hindsight can you see, wow, that was, what an incredible intervention, what an incredible and necessary intervention. At the time, all the things that happened, as to so many of us, of course, were not so pleasant and didn't feel very enlightening, right? Like it felt like, oh my gosh, what's happening to us? Anyway, because our plans changed and everything changed and the energies changed, and I would say, we have to also say COVID and everything around COVID, from, the shedding to the virus itself, which we all know, man-made and so forth.
Well, and it was real. It really hit us bad when we got it.
Did a number on so many people. And I would say even those that don't want to admit it, it's like we've all had our share of negative side effects from it. Why? Because it was a man-made virus, and because the shedding, which I didn't want to believe in until I experienced it physically, that was all real. Now, I do believe everything happens for good reasons.
So yeah, so basically the whole COVID thing, and what we were noticing, and you particularly were noticing, is that things were not so suddenly working anymore.
Yeah, well, literally, my health came to a crashing halt. Now, crashing compared to where I was, I still didn't go as bad as 10 years prior, but I definitely started noticing like something is not working, something is up. And we started testing. We both had thick blood. When I had just had my blood test done a couple of months prior in South Africa, live blood analysis, and the practitioner still marveled at like, wow, they had never seen such incredible healthy blood and so forth. So to have thick blood here, I mean, that was definitely the consequence of what was happening.
Yeah, the exposure to
COVID vaccines, whatever, it doesn't even matter. The point is, we knew, and even just by putting our old practices into practice, things weren't working. Long story short, I started to research and to kind of go back to the drawing board. And in some ways, I look back to that moment, or those many moments where I did go back to the drawing board, and I give deep thanks. Why? Because so many people in our industry do stay stuck in their way of thinking, especially, I have to say it, raw vegans, it's so easy to stay staunchly stuck in your way of thinking for many different reasons. And it's also very seductive and it's very romantic. I mean, I loved being able to say, I'm a vegan. I love being able to say, like, I fast until the cows come home. And I, like, all of that, like, there was, even unwillingly, was there an element of ego? Yes, but, it was innocent. It's just, we're human. Anyway, I then find my way, the first kind of like big light bulb for me went off when I somehow found the Russian health model, and I learned about the endocrine system on a much deeper level. I knew about the importance of the endocrine system, but I learned it from the Russian perspective, and how in some ways everything for them in the world of peptide bioregulators, especially gerontology, revolves pretty much around the regeneration of the endocrine system through peptide bioregulators. So I learned about peptide bioregulators, and they came from animal products. There's synthetic ones, but the natural ones kind of came from animal products. And it made just so much sense to me that in order to regenerate what had been degenerated for reasons of stress, toxins, and everything that was going on, and everything that had been going on even before, because we all have to remember, we all come with certain genetic impairments and predispositions. And even though, yes, epigenetics then only pull the trigger, but the setup is there, the weaknesses are there. And if those don't go addressed, at some point you are going to suffer the consequence, maybe only slower, maybe only later. So we started working with peptide bioregulators, and that was really within weeks a mind-blowing experience. I mean, certainly for me.
Particularly once we did, what was the first one we did was endogluten. That was just incredible. I mean, there was Peptide was the first. That was the oral peptide bioregulator, and I noticed a very distinct shift in my energy. My sleep became better, and there was kind of more of an awakeness and alertness.
Yeah, there was like as if we had been given a new foundation to
serve. So that's one of the things that I recommend to anybody, is that they start with endogluten.
Either endogluten, Peptide. Peptide is a synthetic. It's not going to sort of regenerate you for as long, but it is very powerful. And it's a great first experience because it really gives you the experience of like, wow, these peptides are powerful, and we are going to go deeper into and in our CHC Create Health Collective, we have master classes, so you can dive deep. Here we just kind of want to keep things a little bit high level, explain how we got to where we are now, because in many ways, and I have full understanding and compassion for, some people could look from the outside and go, these people have lost the plot, right? Oh, these are the usual, ex-vegans who were never vegans to begin with.